Billionaire investor Ron Barron, who owns 4.7 million shares of Tesla stock worth around $4 billion, was interviewed this morning. He's incredibly bullish on the opportunities for Tesla, making 3 major points. First, we'll watch the key parts of the video where he listed out the 5 reasons to support the shareholder vote, saying it's like winning the lottery, how the other Musk company supercharges Tesla, and how he expects to make at least 4 to 5 times our money on Tesla and wanting to buy more Tesla stock right now. I've got Brian White joining us. He's the host of his own YouTube channel called FutureAza. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Herbert. This is a big story, and Ron Barron has known a few things about Tesla since the beginning, so his words carry quite a bit of weight, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, people love listening to Ron. He's quite good about explaining exactly why he loves Tesla, and we'll listen into this video. So we've got 4 clips. Let's listen into the first one.
They were doing 2,000 cars a year. And then in 2014, it was 31,000 cars. That's when we started buying. In 2016, 76,000 cars. And last year, 1.8 million. So significant growth. And he made promises if he met these metrics of EBITDA, of revenues, of market cap, that he would get this extraordinary compensation. And the compensation, when he started, when the contract was signed, it was the company's market value was $53 billion. It got as high as $1 trillion. And it's now $550 billion. I think in the next 10 years, we're probably going to make 4 or 5 times our money again in Tesla. So he's created tremendous wealth for people, and he was paid, if this contract is enforced, which I think it should be, he's paid $56 billion. So it's like winning the lottery, you know, and Joe was talking about before, you win the lottery, you don't tell someone, oh, sorry, you won so much money, you have to give it back.
I remember thinking at the time that the compensation deal was a crazy setup, but I also remember thinking at the time that I never thought he'd hit any of the metrics.
No one
He's
did.
hit every one of the metrics. So it's hard to imagine taking that back and clawing it back.
Exactly. And so that's exactly how we viewed it. I said, man, if he hits this is fantastic. We're going to do so well. And again, I mean, he should have another contract going from this point going forward, where it's incented the same way, I'm hoping. So number one, the contract. So 73% in 2018, 73% of the investors approved it. All of the disinterested parties who are directors, they approved it. And the people he has who are directors, these are not, just flakes. They are Larry Ellison, one of the wealthiest men in the world, Hiro Mizuno. He was the head of the Japanese, pension fund, the largest pension fund in the world, $1.5 trillion. Kathleen Thomas, Walgreens, Boots. So he had really, and of course, Robin Denholm, who came later. But they all approved this, and they all thought this was a fair, a fair agreement. So basically, number one, all the disinterested directors approved it. Number two, that's the will of the company. The will of the company and the will of the shareholders, so I think he should be, it's a legally binding contract. And then who sued? You had an individual who was a shareholder for hire with 9 shares. 9 shares sued. And it took him 5 years to get the derivative suit certified, but class action wasn't, so he doesn't really represent all the shareholders. And the lawyer who represented them, when you talk about getting lucky, he has applied to the court for payment of $5.6 billion. $5.6 billion. And then he is asking for the payment to be made in shares of Tesla stock, which are depressed because of this lawsuit. It's crazy. And so I think that, it's really unfair the way they're addressing this, and I think that he earned it, and he deserves it, and he should be paid it.
All right, so there's a lot more he says. We'll do a second clip, but obviously the shareholder vote is coming in June 13th, and we're going to see a lot of FUD coming out. I'm glad that Ron Barron came out there and said his position. What's your thinking, Brian?
All of that was almost infuriating to watch because there's so many genuinely stupid people out there who do not get it. When we go on social media, X, Reddit, Facebook, wherever, and we see all these furious, I'm going to vote no because Elon doesn't deserve whatever. those are not shareholders. Those, if you are the kind of person who despises Elon with every fabric of your being, you do not hold shares in Tesla. You don't get a vote. This isn't a popular vote. This is a popular vote among shareholders. This is an investor vote. And so then you've got the people who are saying, well, this was all a done deal. This was all of these, most of these targets were already set in stone before the pay was approved. No, they weren't. They were the internal guidance, but they weren't just the internal guidance. They were the external guidance. We were told these are the objectives. These are what we believe we can hit. And anyone who believed it, anyone who could see it and believed it, invested. People like you and me. The people, and I'll be honest, I didn't think he'd hit all of them. But I said, if he hits these insane milestones, it means my paltry investment will pay off my house. And if that's what's going to happen, I'm all for it. I invested after the shareholder meeting. So internal guidance is meaningless. If you think the guy is a big fat liar, then the internal guidance means nothing. That $5.6 billion payout. So it's unfair for Elon to get a big check worth on paper $2 billion. But we're going to give some random shareholder 2-3 times that much in actual money? Nonsense. That's ridiculous. I don't know how you can sleep at night thinking that your client deserves that your plaintiff deserves that. It's like Ron Barron said, that's a plaintiff for hire. That's not a real person with real loss. And it's just frustrating.
Okay. Let's listen into the next bit here, what he says about the pay package still, and then we'll get into the other clips.
Well, you're buying in right now at half the price it was 3 years ago. And in part, that's because of this controversy over this contract. So this is actually in your favor. And if he weren't to devote himself the way I believe he will devote himself to the company continuing, then you would be damaged as a new shareholder. You're buying into a company where you have one of the most exceptional, maybe the most exceptional, executive in this country, in the world, running your business. Do you really want to not treat him properly? Last year there happened to be, so Tesla has 140,000 employees. To show you how desirable it is to work there, the most number one and number two jobs that are desired by graduates from the top engineering schools are Tesla and SpaceX. Last year, Tesla had 12,000 new hires. And 12,000 new hires, they had 6 million applicants. 6 million applicants for 12,000 jobs. And so think about that. The reason they have it is not because the name Tesla, not because of car, it's because of him. And so think about his ability to attract these great people to come to this business, to grow it and run it and make changes that are benefiting the entire planet. And you want to renege on a contract, on a deal you made with him?
Yeah, Ron, let me ask you.
Okay. So to summarize what he said here, first, earlier he said he earned it, he deserved it, he should be paid it. And then Tesla Economics wrapped it up nicely in a summary. So this is what he said. They, new Tesla investors that want to vote against Elon and why they should reconsider. Number one, the Tesla stock is the price it was 3 years ago, so it's in your favor to invest. If Elon was not to devote himself to Tesla, you'll be damaged as a new shareholder. You're buying into a company where you have one of the world's best executives running your business. Do you really not want to treat him properly? Number 1 and 2, desired place to work by graduates from top engineering schools are Tesla and SpaceX. Last year had 12,000 new hires out of 6 million applicants. This is because of Elon, right? And so he talked about the 12,000, 6 million applicants. This is about Elon's ability to attract the great people you want to renege on a contract and deal you made with him. What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
It's not, they're not going to work for Tesla and SpaceX because of Elon. It's because of the great teams and the great engineering, right? He's the magnet. He's what made that happen. Well, he didn't build a reusable rocket. You think he's on the factory floor? No, but I think building reusable rockets is very, very hard. I think building electric cars profitably is extremely hard. And we know this because we've seen other companies try to do it. Blue Origin is older than SpaceX by a few months, and they have yet to reach orbit. Meanwhile, we're about to have the flight test of Starship number 4 It's insane what happens when people are attracted to a mad genius, is what I'm just going to call him. So it's not him, it's something else. Look, there's two kinds of investors I see. The ones who enjoyed the big run up and the ones who came later who did not. The ones who enjoyed the big run up have every reason to vote for it. You got the benefit. But the people who came after, I get that there's bitterness that you bought into a hype stock during a hype cycle. It was a big meme. Everybody was getting rich. That's a tough way to invest. If you do that, you're going to always be driving by looking in the rearview mirror, and you'll miss curves in the road when you do that. So if you are an investor since all-time highs, if you are upside down, that doesn't make it a good idea to throw gas on the fire and see what happens. What you get is a bigger fire. What you should be doing is, at that point, I don't know, funding the fireman in this analogy. There's too many reasons to support it and no good reasons not to. And to me, the litmus test is always, what do you think the compensation should be? Because invariably, the people who hate it say it should be zero. And right there, I know this is not a serious discussion, and this is not a serious human being I'm talking to.
I mean, here's Ron giving out very good reasons of why people should want Elon to stay, but it's emotional, right? So a lot of these people, like you said, they invested later, they're bitter. So how do you convince them otherwise? But at least, this is our approach. Let them know what is the likely, why would you want to not continue with Elon, one of the best leaders in the world? The other really big reason is actually the ecosystem, the multi companies that Elon is doing. Some are now coming out there using it as a weapon, saying that, Elon redirected some of the chips. He did no such thing. What he did was, it was a requisition that he decided to let that requisition be used by XAI instead. And he actually continues to explain that the reason why they weren't able to, they just obtained so many H100s, and they didn't need it that month specifically. And it wasn't delayed much at all. It didn't have any impact to Tesla at all. And in fact, you want XAI to have those chips because you want them to build the grok as best they can, so that on August 8th, we want to have the most incredible demo of you speaking to the car and assisting with the car. Let's listen to.
I wanted to say on that real quick.
Yeah.
They didn't give anything up. They didn't give anything away. They traded places in line. Look, you and I both ordered pizzas. Mine came up first, and I don't have a table. You know what? You have a table here. Take my pizza, and I'll grab yours when yours comes out, because then I will have a table. The building in which to place them isn't ready. Do you really want them to take delivery of $4 billion worth of chips with nothing to use them for? And there are people I've seen, genuine idiots I've seen, saying, this is outrageous, this is illegal, he should go to prison for this. What are you talking about? We swapped places in line. That's all we did. And that, maybe people should go to jail for trading places in the queue. I don't know.
Ross Gerber was on CNBC, and he said, oh my God, Gigatex is the largest warehouse. There's so much space. How's there no space? And then Elon had to reply and say, well, it's not about space. It's about when you buy these chips, they're not chips, by the way, they're massive data center systems that they need to be hooked up together, liquid cooled, so that, this is a whole environment. You don't just plop them in there and then they, can put the cord into the wall and you're good to go.
That's hilarious.
And that's
he thinks
was talking about.
Well, but you guys have closets, right? That's not where we put a supercomputer. No, Ross is easy to understand. If you want to get your head around Ross, it's easy. Just imagine a tube of hair gel wished to become a real boy.
Okay. All right. Let's listen into the ecosystem discussion by Ron Barron. This is the better Ron Barron to listen to.
All these companies benefit each other. Elon spends way more than half of his time on Tesla compared to all these other entities that he's doing. But these are all the entities, they're all benefiting Tesla. And as far as the chips that went from NVIDIA to XAI, it was because Tesla has invested tremendously in data centers for themselves. 50,000 is one that they're building right now, GPUs. 25,000 is the largest it's ever built before, and our guy is building 100,000, the new one. So we think about AWS. AWS comes about because they have too much capacity for the cloud. So therefore, when they had excess, they sold it. That's what XAI is. In addition to that, XAI creates Grok. Grok ultimately is going to be your assistant. You would drive around in a car. Also, Tesla is going to be able to use the compute that's been produced by and owned by XAI. XAI got those chips because Tesla, so many X's, that he has over-ordered. He doesn't need them right now. He's buying them later, so XAI needs them now. We have nowhere to store them at Tesla. So XAI gets these chips, but the next level is coming to Tesla. So basically, it's about who needs them right now, and then here's this excess.
I mean, it makes perfect sense for somebody like you who's invested in all of these different things because you're going to win on either side of it. Is there an argument that Tesla shareholders should have a stake in XAI too?
Well, they're going to be using the services, and then the XAI is going to be getting benefit, I presume, of some sort for selling the services back to Tesla. But Tesla's avoiding a cost that they would otherwise have to invest in chips, to invest in these data centers. These data centers are $3 or $5 billion now. They used to be $300 million.
So your point is, as long as an independent board oversees this and signs off on these decisions, it's okay?
Yes. So that's the case in all instances. But he has this whole infrastructure now where all these businesses, whether it's... So one of the things I was asking about, I said, well, gee, when he bought Twitter and renamed it X, where did that, and he said he bought it because he wanted to have the ultimate truth-seeking algorithm. And then all of a sudden, we've learned that we have data that X has that is unique, real-time, no one else has it. So what's going to be commoditized is this foundational, the chat GPTs and Groks ultimately. But what is unique about Grok is this data. So when he bought Twitter, did he have in his mind that there's the opportunity to have this data of tremendous value for licensing? When he decided he wanted to go to Mars for SpaceX, did he really think initially that, hey, there's a real opportunity here for internet around the world, and there's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue opportunity? When he started off with EVs for Tesla, did he really think that this is really going to merge into self-driving, where you can make hundreds of billions of dollars a year of extra profits? And Grok, to hear this is going to be self-driving and you're going to have connected cars all around the world from SpaceX. All these businesses link up to, it's the ecosystem. It's the Elon ecosystem. And I think it's really interesting when you look at it in that way. So Elon benefits where all these businesses are on, and he couldn't have attracted the engineers he wanted to attract for artificial intelligence to Tesla. They didn't want to work at Tesla. Right. So he's got, you remember, OpenAI, he's the founder. And ChatGPT, that comes out of him. He just didn't like the way it was being run. It was supposed to be not-for-profit, and then all of a sudden, he's questioning the governance of it. So now he wants to have a competitor. So there's a control over it, so it can't damage humanity.
I
don't know if you were listening very closely, Brian, but Ron Barron gets inside information. And so when he says something, we can just kind of just let it go through, or you can put a little bit more credence to it. What he said there was that there's an ecosystem and that you can have connected cars because you have Starlink. So I was like, okay, is that a little bit of confirmation now that cars will have used Starlink, right? Because of Robotaxi, because of Grok, because of you want entertainment in your cars. That was interesting. We'll see if that actually turns out to be real. But, the whole point about Grok and language being able to use by the bots and to the cars, you want XAI to have the largest supercomputer in the world. It's going to benefit Tesla significantly.
The thing that frustrated me is you see this repeated a lot on social media, the dumber half of social media. The board of directors was not independent. They rubber stamped whatever he want. And we just heard a good point a little earlier, which is that Larry Ellison from Google or Oracle, I guess, is not in Elon's pocket. This is a very smart, very savvy tech genius. I don't know, who knows better, who is not about to get suckered. The board was independent. He could have squeezed for more. The probability of it being done was so outrageous. What on earth? To the question, well, why isn't this part of Tesla already? We did hear a good answer, which is that you couldn't attract the same kind of talent to Tesla that you could to a startup. A lot of great engineers want to be part of a new thing, not an existing thing. But there's another part to that, which is you can't just add anything to Tesla without shareholders or board members saying, okay, this is too far afield. Wait, why are we working on general AI? Why are we working on something like ChatGPT here? The bot doesn't necessarily need it. It's a multi-billion-dollar investment. The funds they raise from outside the company to keep that company going and growing is billions and billions of dollars. Do shareholders really want their money going into this speculative new gamble? I would argue that the answer is no. And then the last thing I wanted to say is a couple of years ago, people were saying, can Starlink feed these cars? This is to your point, Herbert. Can Starlink feed these cars? And the answer was no. They would need a special antenna that's bulky and expensive. But now with Starlink direct to cell, we can see that can happen. It's no longer crazy. It's absolutely possible. Now, you wouldn't try to connect millions and millions of cars at an actual constant data rate. It would consume too much bandwidth. But for things like little updates, little bits of information, little packets going in either direction, it could absolutely work. So that helps Tesla. How come I don't own Starlink? Because it's a separate company, guys. You got to understand shareholders' appetite for risk and diversity is not as great as it is for Elon himself.
Yeah, let's watch the last bit
SpaceX,
here.
We invested from 2017 to now. We've invested about $1 billion. It's worth $2.3 billion. Tesla is worth about $4 or $5 billion.
But your new money is going to his newer venture.
If I had a chance to buy more stock in Tesla right now, I'd buy more stock in Tesla.
Well, you can't. Why?
Well, because I have limits as far as what percentages I'm allowed to buy for these individuals.
Because you're full up on
plus
your Tesla.
I don't have infinite capital. And so when I have chances to buy, I recommend, when we get new accounts, bigger positions I'm able to buy in Tesla, I buy. In SpaceX, I think in SpaceX we're going to double our money over the next 3 or 4 years and double it again in 2 or 3 years after that. And then in the 2030s, make 5 times. I think we're going to make 20 times in SpaceX over the next 15 or 20 years. I'm 81. There's not many people who are 81 who are thinking about 15, 20-year time horizons, but I'm one of them. In Tesla, I think in the next 15 years, next 10 years, we're going to make 4, 5, 6 times our money. But I can't even put a top on how much we're going to make in Tesla because there's so many businesses. This robotics business is going to be unbelievable. With robotics for him, I think that it's going to cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a robot. But there's billions of people on the planet. He thinks everyone's going to have a robot, and you're going to charge money. This is like the ecosystem again, where you're going to get charged every year for software for using your robot. That's going to keep getting better and better and better. And when you think about a factory worker gets $100,000 or $200,000 or $150,000 a year, and all of a sudden you have robots that are able to do that, to make all these factory workers more and more productive. And Elon says the GDP is the number of people times the product you produce. All of a sudden, you're not going to need the people to produce the product. Everyone's lives is going to be dramatically better because of AI, because of robotics. Robotics are going to be a really big deal for Tesla, and that is not in the stock in any way, shape, or form.
I understand the robotics.
Yeah, so the robotics is the single largest opportunity ever. And Elon is going to make that available for Tesla shareholders. Why would anybody not vote him to give him what comp he wants and get him the next comp that he deserves and get us to the $10 trillion mark? Okay, Elon, get us from the 500 billion we are now to 10 trillion. We'll give you some more shares. Please. You don't realize how big robotics is.
And that's what I'm seeing is, so we were having a discussion. I was talking disruption with my kids the other day, and I was saying, well, I've got some projects I'm working on, but it's too secretive to share yet. Anyway, there's this idea that that people can understand disruption before it happens. And there are a few dreamers out there who will be able to get their heads wrapped around it. But for the most part, humans are very bad at it. We don't understand what we can't understand. And then there's, you look at, the example I always give is sailors saw the steamship coming and said, oh, wow, cargo will move quicker and cheaper. And that's the extent of the vision. What they didn't see was that the entire world was about to change forever. And that's what we saw. Everything changed. Tourism became a thing. Poor people could immigrate now. It was very world changing forever. And that's what we're looking at with robotics. The biggest job in the world right now is driver. Tesla has been on track to kill that profession for years. And great, those people can go on to do other things. Yes, but the other things they're going to do are jobs that are ripe for disruption from the bot. And the bot is slow and the bot is expensive. Yeah, today. But tomorrow it's going to be a little faster and a little cheaper, and that trend will continue essentially forever. So it's an exciting time to be a shareholder in companies that are able to look at the future and act accordingly. And that's where we are.
Thank you so much, Brian. Love listening to Ron Barron. Ron is just, the confidence that he has. He's really is the biggest bull for Tesla that we have out there. So it's great to see him not wavering. Thank you so much, Brian. Follow him on his YouTube channel, FutureAza. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.